The Eddie Sutton Show, brought to you by Farm Fresh. Set your training table with the good things from Farm Fresh. By Phillips 66, the performance team. By Oklahoma Tank Lines, a proud sponsor of Oklahoma State Athletics. By Johnson's, make a short drive, save hundreds of dollars. Johnson's Auto Family, Kingfisher, Chickasha, and Enid. And by the OSU Posse, providing opportunities for scholastic and sports excellence. Now, here's your host, Tom Dirato.
Well, hi everybody, and welcome to the first Eddie Sutton Show of the year. As many of you know, the Cowboys are off to a 3-1 start this season. And Eddie, your early take on your 7th edition at OSU.
Well, I think we've been very inconsistent, and I guess that's to be expected when you play as many people as we've been playing. We've had 5 newcomers, 5 freshmen, trying to work them in with the veterans, and some days they play well and some days they don't. You know, our record at this point, Tom, is 3-1, as you mentioned, and that's probably the 3 games that we were favored to win, and the game with the University of Tulsa, they were favored to win, so maybe we're about where we are, but we certainly aren't blowing any of those people out. I mean, every game has been pretty close, and I think that we've got a long ways to go before conference play if we're going to be in the upper half of the conference. You've
mentioned so many times that you see this inconsistency on a daily basis. It's not just game to game. Sometimes these freshmen, and maybe that's to be expected, play well one day on a Monday and maybe Tuesday in practice they don't.
Well, I think everywhere in the country, any team that is playing as many young people as we are, you are going to see that. I think that the young players really have progressed quite well in the first 5 weeks that we've been practicing. I don't think some of our veterans are playing as well as we had anticipated they would, and hopefully they can start playing better.
Give us an update, if you will, on Estelle Laster. As we know now, he was injured in the game against Mississippi Valley State. Do you have any further news for us?
Well, Estelle Laster had a stress fracture earlier in the year, and he missed about a week of practice, and he re-injured that arm, and it is broken. They put it in a cast, and he is going to be out for a while, and that's really kind of a blow to us because he had really made remarkable progress in the last 10 days. We felt like that he probably was playing as good on the perimeter defensively as anyone we had. If it doesn't heal up quickly, then I would assume we'll probably look for a medical red shirt.
Of course, that decision could be put off, and you do have a week next week, final exam, so that's a week where the Cowboys do not play, a week for him to mend. I assume after the first of the year you'll make that final decision?
Yeah, I would think for sure he's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks, and of course during that period of time you lose a lot of conditioning. I think he can still ride the bicycle and run him down the floor, and it is his left arm, so I guess he can do a little shooting. But at this point, in talking to the doctors and to our trainers, I would think that it's a long shot that he'll be playing anymore this year.
Well, the Cowboys will be on the road again this weekend, taking on Arizona State. One road game already in Tulsa, taking this new bunch on the road to Arizona State. That's not a very friendly place more times than not.
Well, we started a 4-game series with Arizona State. My good friend Bill Frieder and one of his assistants, Doc Sadler, was my student manager at Arkansas, and so it's kind of home week. They're 2 of my dearest friends. We have beaten them both times here in Oklahoma, and the last time we were out there, I think they beat us 3 points. They too have been struggling a little bit, but they've got the home court, so we're going to have to play a lot better than we've been playing in order to upset them.
Well, there's a nice blend of old and new on this year's roster. You're going to get to meet both when the Eddie Sutton Show continues after this opening timeout. Well, welcome back to the Eddie Sutton Show. And Eddie, we mentioned before the break, we're going to look at both the old and the new. Let's take a look at the returners. On paper, Oklahoma State returns some valuable experience.
Well, this guy's matured a lot, Keontae Roberts, and he probably is playing about as well as we had anticipated he would. It's some of his teammates that aren't playing up to par. He's not getting enough shots. He's leading our ball club in field goal percentage. I think he's hitting around 68%, and when a guy shoots that high a percentage, you got to give him the basketball more. The other night against Mississippi Valley, I think he only ended up taking 6 shots. He had 4 out of 6, and I am really proud of Keontae because he really has matured not only as a basketball player, but he's matured off the court. He's making much better grades, and this is his senior year, and we've got 2 other seniors, and that's what I tell them. This is your ball club. That's Jason Scare, Jason, you know, contemplated redshirting this year, and he was playing so well that he decided to come out and play this year, and he may redshirt next year.
Because he had the big bucket against St. Mary's.
Well, he had a game winner. You know, we were dead in the water. I think we won 65 straight non-conference games here at home, and in that particular game, he had a buzzer beater. We were 2 down. He hit a three-pointer to win it and advance us to the second round of the NIT. And this is Adrian Peterson.
Here's a guy who was shooting the ball so well in preseason.
Before we started games, he was hitting everything he threw up, and now he's really struggling. He's shot the ball more than anyone on the team, but his percentage is not very good. I think he's only hit 1 out of 14 shots from three-point range. But he'll work his way out of it because he's one of 6 freshmen a year ago that's ever scored 300 points in his rookie year. Only 5 other guys beside him has been able to do that, so we know Pete can score. This is Marlon Dorsey, another one of our seniors. He, Maurice Robinson, and Keontae Roberts. Nice give-and-go play there.
Because Marlon has the experience we talked about. He's been there before, as has Mo, as you see right there. And these are guys over the long haul who'll have to step it up and get it done.
If we're going to challenge in the Big 12, these seniors are going to have to step up their game, along with Jason Scare and Adrian Peterson, because they are the veterans. You can't expect rookies, freshmen to lead the way. These guys have got to play better. This guy here has been playing very well for us, Chad Alexander. I think he gives us stability. He very well might start in future games. Good shooter.
Better defender now.
Much better. I think as you mature as a player, you learn to take shortcuts. He was a lot like myself in that I didn't have the great foot speed, so you have to learn to take shortcuts at the defensive end when you're playing someone that's much quicker. This is Tommy Warner. That's Billy Lewis, our 2 walk-ons.
Couple of guys who, in their own right, are valuable members of this squad.
Well, they're valuable in that they don't get to play very much in ball games, but and of course Billy, I think, is going to redshirt this year. That's his decision. But they really help you in practice, Tom. They, you know, they're great practice players, very good students, great representatives of Oklahoma State University.
You know, you mentioned at the outset that the returners have been inconsistent, but you know what these guys can do. They have proven themselves in other areas time and time again. You just expect them to start kicking it in.
Well, I hope so, and I think one thing that has made us a little inconsistent in the games, when you look at our scores, and we're really not blowing anyone out,
right.
77-74, 81-67, 71-70. We've played 11 players every game, and you don't get the continuity, but I really think if we're going to be a good basketball team and challenge in the Big 12, we've got to get these young players some experience in the non-conference schedule.
Every coach, you probably have been asked this a million times by the media. Sure, you'd like to have 8 or 9 guys that you can go to game in and game out that has the consistency, but it's not a magic wand. You just can't say, okay, you 8 or 9 are going to be my starters now, and you over here are going to have to come in and help. They're going to have to elevate themselves to that role.
Well, someone the other day, one of the sports writers asked me, he said, well, you're letting the more guys shoot the ball. And I said, well, we're playing more people. And when you look at our averages, it goes all the way. We've been playing 11 players, and it goes from 4 points to 13 points. I said, we don't have a Big Country or Randy Rutherford or Brooks Thompson, where maybe if you had players like that, you would have a higher percentage of shots would be going to those players. And I think that's one reason why this ball club will be better in the long run as these guys gain experience. And there's going to be different high scores every game. I would hope those veterans step their game up where they'll start hitting for better averages.
Well, this freshman class has received a lot of attention already, but they've contributed a lot already. A look at the rookies when we return to the Eddie Sutton Show. Welcome back to the show. And Eddie, we were talking during the break to point out exactly what you're going through right now. I don't know if this ever happened to you in your coaching career. Last 2 games, 81 points off the bench.
Well, I've coached a long while, and I don't think that I've ever had quite the same situations we have this year. Always in the past, we've tried to go with 8 or 9 players, and this year we are trying to play more people. And as a result, we're getting a lot more production off the bench. I think we've gotten 81 points in the last 2 games, and that's good. But I would like for our starters to score a little more than what they're scoring at this point. But we're really pleased with our 5 freshmen. I think all of them will be very good basketball players here at Oklahoma State University before they leave.
Good time to start taking a look at some of those freshmen again. Start with Estelle Laster, and Estelle, of course, will be out for a while, but he was really coming on.
Well, he was, in my opinion, one of the 2 best high school players in the state, the other one being Joe Atkins, coming out from a year ago. Very, very fine shooter, and like I said, he was fast becoming a very good defensive player. He and Joe Atkins both possess great quickness, and Joe is learning. We're trying to convert him from what he played in high school, an off-guard position, trying to groom him where he can play the point, and that takes a little bit of time. I give a lot of credit to Sean Sutton because he's been working with him, and Joe is getting better.
You'll be seeing another one coming up here. Joe, of course, came in and helped offset some of that quickness the other night that Mississippi Valley had.
Both Joe and Estelle are from here in our state, as I mentioned, from Oklahoma City area, and that's Scott Robish, who we thought we were going to redshirt, and then at the last moment decided we'd play him because we were a little short-handed up front. And marvelous hands, great shooter, needs to get stronger, but will be a very fine player. And Desmond Mason probably is one of the finest athletes that I've ever coached. He still is learning to be a good basketball player. I think his shot has improved a great deal. Marvelous jumper. Can become a great defensive player because of his quickness. Reminds me a lot of Paul Pierce, who plays for Kansas, who last year, you know, I'm not saying that a year from now he'll be playing like Paul Pierce, because I watched Kansas play Cincinnati the other night, and Pierce, I think, was the most valuable player in the game. But I do think in time that Desmond's going to be a great player. And here's a guy who probably has surprised all of us, Alex Weber. We knew that he would be a good player as he matured, but the other night against Mississippi Valley, he led our ball club in scoring with 22 points. His dad was a great player for Arkansas State, and he was at the game the other night, and I know Lonnie was extremely proud of the way Alex played.
Yeah, there's no, I don't think there's any coincidence. The best 2 games he's had here early have come with Dad in the stands, so maybe Lonnie needs to come to every game, huh?
That would be great. And here's a young man who came in at semester last year, Scott's older brother Brett, and transferred from the University of Illinois. He'll become eligible, I believe, on December 16th, and believe me, he's going to help our ball club. You've
made mention of this so many times, the newcomers. This group really likes to play the round ball sport, and that's the difference in having to come out and do it every day in practice or coming out and doing it because you like it.
I didn't coin the phrase gym rat, but I like that phrase. They like to play basketball. They love the round ball sport, and they're not afraid to work. And when you get people that have that attitude, they're just going to continue to improve and get better.
How much of a motivation, and this is something only coaches can gauge, but if you're a senior or junior and you're sitting over there and you're watching these freshmen come out each and every game, improve dramatically, that is motivation enough that you better get out there and hustle to keep your job.
One thing that's been much better this year is the fact that we do have some good practice sessions. The competition, last year we were a little short-handed, and we weren't able to have that. In fact, we didn't even have the numbers. But
no managers this year.
Well, last year, you know, we had to have Sean and some of our former players come out and help us in practice sessions because we didn't have enough to scrimmage. But this year, I think that's one thing, and that competition in practice will allow, you know, everybody to improve. You know, you always think you improve a lot in games, but you improve a lot in practice if you have the right attitude and you have competition.
Sean would have a hard time getting out there right now with that broken finger. He wouldn't be much help right there. Well, the Big 12 is certainly off to an impressive start. We're going to talk about this league, what's ahead for the Cowboys when we start divisional play, and also a lot more. You stay with us. We'll return to the Eddie Sutton Show after this short timeout. Welcome back to the show. You know, one only has to look at the Big 12's 43-6 overall record in the first couple of weeks to kind of let us all know what we're in for.
There are no weak teams in the Big 12. You know, a lot of my fellow coaches in the Big 8 said, well, when we get to 4 schools in Texas, it's going to dilute the league. It hasn't diluted the league a bit, believe me. When you look at what Texas Tech has done, they beat George Washington on the road and then beat New Mexico the other night. I think Tech is probably maybe the second best team in the conference right now behind Kansas, and of course very happy for them because James Dickey, who was my assistant for 8 years, he's done a marvelous job down there.
Let's take a look at some of the early numbers here. This is the standings as we have them, as you can see, through December 4th, and these are impressive numbers.
Well, Kansas is, without a doubt, it's the best team in the country. They've played a tough schedule, and they're playing without Jacques Vaughn, and won a big game the other night for Cincinnati. And, you know, I think we should all cheer for each other and when they beat big games like that, because that just enhances our own conference. I think the University of Oklahoma is playing much better than what a lot of people thought they would this early. Texas has had an impressive win over Rhode Island. They went on the road and beat Florida. They beat Nebraska in a non-conference game. They had a game already scheduled. They beat them, so they're undefeated. A&M is undefeated. Went to Colorado State and won a big game. Iowa State, you know, they return everyone, and I think they're picked second in our league in preseason. Baylor's got an All-American center in Skinner, who was, I think he came out this week at preseason, second-team All-American in Basketball Weekly. Missouri would be undefeated. They lost a close game down in Puerto Rico to Clemson. There's Oklahoma State. Colorado has played well. K-State, the only game they've lost is to Wichita State. Nebraska, the only game they've lost is to the University of Texas. So very impressive, you know, wins for our league up to this point.
Sometimes it's hard to get a gauge on how tough a team is going to be during the preseason, or it's not preseason, the non-conference portion of the year, because of the caliber of teams that come in. Most teams like to play at home, but as you mentioned, a couple of these teams have ventured out on the road and picked up big W's.
Well, I think that that is true. You know, you'd like to build some confidence, so I think a lot of us like to play some games at home, and but some of our members of our league have really gone on the road, and they have really been impressive and won some big games, and that really helps all of us, because when it comes time at the end of the year and the NCAA at-large committee or the committee start looking at at-large teams, they always look at those wins that everybody has been able to pull off in conference play.
Everybody's starting to talk now, or a good many people. How many teams are they going to get in the NCAA tournament? We're just underway. It's just a bit too early to start putting those down on the list right now. As we speak about games, though, Cowboys, of course, have played Arizona State this weekend, then take the next week off for finals. A very important week for the kids.
Well, we'll be on the road at Arizona State and then get back here. And next week we'll have to cut back on our practice time, because the most important thing that our student athletes are here for is to get their degree. And so your practice schedule will be a little hit and go. And then the following week, though, we come back after finals and we play Alcorn State. We play College of Charleston, a team that is maybe the best non-conference team to come in here since I have been at Oklahoma State. They beat Stanford and beat Arizona State in the Great Alaskan Shootout, lost in the finals to the University of Kentucky. And then we play SMU on Saturday. And I might say that with all of our students going home for the holidays, we do have some tickets. You know, Gallagher Iowa is sold out on a season ticket basis, but when the students are gone, we do sell tickets, and people can buy those tickets. I think they're $18.
That's right.
And we play on a Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday a week from now. So I hope some of you that always want to watch the Cowboys, this is your opportunity to get out and see us play.
I'll tell you what else is significant about that Monday, December the 16th. That'll be the first game that Brett Robish is eligible to play.
And I think a lot of our fans are anxious to see Brett in action. We're excited about what he will add to our ball club.
He's anxious. I guarantee you, sitting over there at those practice. I talked to him before we came over today, and he's out there, and this practice, and not getting to play, I think, is wearing a little thin on. He knew what he was getting into, but you know, it's going a little slower now than he thought it would be.
And I think it's going to be an exciting night for the entire Robish family, because his mom and dad are going to come down for that game, and they'll be able to see both Brett and Scott. I think when they were in high school back in Springfield, they got to play together one season, so now they're going to get to play here at Oklahoma State. And of course, their father was one of the great players ever to play at the University of Kansas, and I've told both of them, I said, if you guys can just, you got great genes, if you can just play half as well as your dad did, we'll be in good shape.
You like what the schedule offers in terms of showing your team something different about every time you go out in non-conference?
Well, I think we have a very strong non-conference schedule, and up to this point, you know, like I said, we're 3-1, and that's probably about what we could hope to have at this point, because Tulsa's a better ball club than we are right now. If we played Tulsa later in the year, as we gain experience, I think we could play them very well. You know, the thing that's disappointed me, and I said this earlier, I don't think some of our veterans are playing as well. When you look at the statistics, they're very close. The only thing that we're really beating people on is the shooting percentage, shooting 48%, our opponents 43%. Both our opponents and ourselves 33% from the three-point line. We're shooting better at the free throw line, 62%.
Yeah, we should be talking about that probably.
That's a lot higher than we shot a year ago, and we rebounded about the same, and turnovers about the same. So we just got to get better in all areas of the game and be more consistent.
Well, thanks for joining us on this first Eddie Sutton Show. We look forward to seeing you each and every week right here at the same time. For Eddie Sutton, I'm Tom Dirato. Goodbye, everybody.